A regular day in the sports center is interrupted when one of the men began vomiting blood. He is taken to the hospital without much consideration. But as the days pass, the other men too become ill and never recover. All men on Earth are gradually infected by a mystery virus that does not affect women. After 8 years, only women remain on Earth. In New Zealand, a group known as Wellness, led by Lane, has transformed the little hamlet of Hiro Valley into what they regard to be a paradise, complete with adequate education, healthcare, and mandated leave for individuals experiencing Shark Week. Wellness is also responsible for administering the repopulation lottery, which is used to select the next women who will get pregnant using the seed stored in banks before the outbreak. Lane is Pip's idol. She is a secretary at Wellness and a devoted believer of their beliefs. Her best friend Jane lost her son and husband to the virus and is eager to have another child, so she often attends Wellness community activities with Pip in the hopes that she would be selected. Alex, the sister-in-law of Jane, believes Wellness has implemented an excessively oppressive system and is opposed to Wellness. Officer Constance arrests Alex for throwing a drink at Lane during one of the community functions. Alex is taken to Constance's office, where she proceeds to tease the officer. It is clear that these two ladies have done this before. Constance asks Alex if she would like to go away for the weekend with her at some point, but Alex responds with a joke. Constance must complete her task because someone has just arrived in search of her. Alex explains why they cannot have a normal relationship before Constance inserts a bliss ball into the base of Alex's neck using a special pistol. Meanwhile, the lottery reveals that Jane has been selected to have a child. Jane is then demonstrating to Pip on her farm how to artificially inseminate cows when Constance arrives to drop off Alex, who is fully blissed out and does not comprehend anything. Since today's act of vandalism constituted a repeat offense, Alex's medication will be effective for 5 days. The following day, Jane has her first doctor's appointment and meets Vive, who is selected 4 times but never advanced. Jane was unaware that there was a second step, so she becomes anxious during the checkup. However, Dr. Harvey assures her that her health is exceptional and her chances of being chosen are quite good. She also tells her that if the baby is a male, she would lose it, but Jane is willing to take the risk. She then visits a working girl in a body house and forces her to wear Jackson's clothes so she can pretend to be reunited with her husband. Eventually, Pip drops a dish while preparing food for a business meeting. As she slips beneath the table to retrieve the snacks, she hears Lane and Harvey enter the room and engage in a strange conversation. Harvey asks if they should prioritize quality or quantity, and Lane responds that a prosperous future is her greatest priority. At that point, Pip makes her presence known, and Lane interrupts the talk, turning to Pip in a manipulative yet endearing manner to remind her to maintain confidentiality. On the property, Alex discovers instructions she left for herself on how to act when she is blissful, as she has experienced this numerous times. Alex uses a scalpel to remove the happiness ball from her body after eating herself and sucking on a tank of dental anesthetic in the restroom. Then Alex visits her mother, who was placed in a retirement home when Wellness permanently blessed her for speaking out against them. Jane and Pip discover the bloodstained bathroom in the evening, but Alex is not in the house. They urgently search for her, believing she is still blissful and a risk to herself. But as soon as they get in the truck, Pip becomes distracted and hits someone. They momentarily believe they have murdered Alex, but Alex picks that time to appear.
The girls have no idea who else could be on the farm at this hour, so they are astonished to discover that the body is that of a man.
The girls bring Bobby into the barn, and Jane is overcome with emotion as she is constantly reminded of Jackson. Alex and Jane attend to Bobby, who is asleep and has a leg wound, despite Pip's insistence that they should hand him over to Wellness. The next morning, a Wellness car arrives and awakens the girls. Jane recalls that they're putting her home through a baby-safe inspection, so she and Pip will have to deal with this while Alex stays in the barn because she's still meant to be in her honeymoon phase. Pip and Jane respond to the inspector's inquiries, and if they hear a noise in the barn, they attribute it to the cows. Alex examines Bobby's suitcase and discovers an article on her mother's groundbreaking dairy business discoveries, which must be a coincidence. Bobby abruptly awakens and pushes Alex away to retrieve his belongings. Then he attempts to escape, so Alex must leap on him to prevent his departure. Alex manages to seize the electric cattle prod and knock out Bobby with it during the ensuing fight, in which Bobby easily defeats her. By the time the inspector arrives at the barn to investigate the noises, Alex has hidden Bobby and is feigning happiness to convince him to leave. Bobby awakens moments later to find himself restrained. Alex begs to know why Bobby possesses a photograph of her mother, but Bobby refuses to speak and is unafraid of being prodded. Alex chooses to attempt to insert the bliss ball inside Bobby to make him speak. But when Bobby begins struggling and pleading for mercy, Alex recalls her mother and withdraws. Alex, distressed by the memory, decides to destroy the pleasure ball. James attends her second doctor's appointment, only to learn that she has not advanced to the following stage. She phones Pip in desperation for assistance, and Pip vows to try to pull some strings. Pip goes to speak with Lane, indicating that James is the ideal choice and that he believes there has been a mistake. Lane pledges to investigate the matter with her typical manipulative charm. A few hours later, Lane reveals to Pip that there was really a mistake and James should have never been entered into the lottery. Jane contacts Dr. Harvey at the same time to find out why she was denied, but Harvey states that she had approved James and has no idea who reversed the decision. Alex explains to Bobby that her mother was permanently blissful for stating that there were male survivors. Bobby responds that she was not insane, that there are more male survivors like him, and that Alex's mother was the key to everything. Now that she is no longer present, guys are being chased. Jane attempts to divert herself when she returns home, but she cannot stop crying over her denied application. Alex joyfully informs her that Bobby knows things and that she will drag Wellness down as a result of his knowledge. Jane realizes that Bobby could be the solution to her troubles as well, so she visits him with a cup and a request for his seat. Then she begins to dance to encourage him, but she is still too distraught and begins to cry. Pip hears her and carries her out of the barn, believing she is insane. But when she realizes how important this is to James, she returns to the barn to do the task herself. Moments later, Pip delivers the cup containing the seed to James, who used the cow insemination instruments to implant the seed within herself. Meanwhile, not far from the farm, a hunter utilizes surveillance camera images to track down Bobby. The following morning, Pip requests more of Bobby's seed in case the first batch fails. Bobby wants to be treated better in exchange for his cooperation, so Pip allows him to enter the house and take a shower, and she provides him clothes. After that, she brings the seed to James, taking precautions to prevent Alex from discovering what they are doing. Alex then takes food and drinks to Bobby and asks him to play Never Have I Ever in an attempt to make him drunk and possibly obtain additional information. In the end, Bobby deceives Alex into drinking more alcohol and cutting his ropes, allowing him to escape. However, the wound on his leg and Pip's tight pants prevent Alex from running effectively, and he falls onto a pile of cow dung. Feeling defeated, he returns to the barn and finally reveals to Alex that his friend handed him a phone SIM card before he was captured. This card is meant to lead him to a safe location for survivors, and Alex agrees to assist. Jane is about to plant the seed in herself when she recalls Vive, who never reached the subsequent stage either. Refusing to be selfish, Jane places the seed in a cooler and leaves it as a contribution from Robin Hood at Vive's door. The following morning, Alex gives Bobby an old phone from her mother, and after inserting the SIM card, they receive a message that says rise from an unidentified number. Pip gets to work and discovers that Vive has delivered the seed cup to Lane. Instead of recognizing her as a hero, Lane makes Constance ecstatic about Vive. Pip phones his pals to inform them that Wellness is aware of Bobby, and then hurries back to the property, where Wellness cars are already coming. Alex, James, and Bobby are able to hide, and Pip swiftly joins them to reprimand James for using the farm's refrigerators. Alex interrupts the next confrontation by calling out Pip for abusing Bobby, and James for attempting to conceive in secret, which she could not have concealed from Wellness as her tummy began to develop. Now that they cannot return to the property, Alex is distraught because it represents her final memory of her brother. Bobby hears a mystery male voice instructing him to awaken and providing him with the coordinates for the men's safe house as the phone suddenly rings. Bobby writes it down immediately, but so does the hunter, whose phone permits her to eavesdrop on any discussion due to the fact that there are almost no phone lines remaining in the modern world. Bobby and the girls escape in James' car and make it to the safe house, which turns out to be the original sports complex. However, even after 10 hours of waiting, nobody shows up. Bobby and Alex exit the vehicle to relieve themselves when they discover a red light on Alex's forehead. The hunter has finally located them. Bobby informs the girls that this is the woman who killed his friend 2 weeks earlier, as he and his companion flee back to the car as the hunter pursues them. Pip was enraged because Bobby did not inform them that he was being followed, and she becomes so distracted that she unintentionally takes the road leading to Sinkfist. This celebration marks Women's Shark Week, and as this road is one way only, they must now remain and locate an alternate escape route. They conceal Bobby under a blanket and pretend he is an elderly woman while a valet steals the automobile. However, Bobby wants a better disguise, so they steal a mascot suit before attempting to hide in the crowd, only to accidentally split off. Jane believes she can see Jackson, so she follows him to one of the games, where she vomits unexpectedly. The girl sitting next to her points out that Jane is pregnant, but she denies it. However, after she leaves the game, she continues to vomit, indicating that she is pregnant and not just dizzy from the game. James also observes that the individual she mistook for Jackson is actually a girl dressed similarly. Pip encounters a committee member who reminds her that she agreed to assist with the festival. Now Pip has no choice but to work at the tent with the face paint. But as soon as she realizes the hunter has arrived, she flees. She hides in another tent and runs into Lane, who promises her a spot on the committee if she agrees to do the right thing by manipulating her with nice words. Additionally, the elderly women from the retirement home are brought to the event, so Alex asks her mother if she recognizes Bobby. At that moment, the hunter appears, and Bobby flees to the mirror labyrinth to hide. The girls reconnect and follow him there, where they accidentally break up again due to the mind-altering effects of the mirrors, such as James seeing herself with a large pregnant tummy. After repeatedly hitting their heads against the mirrors, the girls rejoin and observe the hunter subdue and seize Bobby. The maze makes it difficult to follow them, but Pipe uses face paint to identify the passageways they have already traversed. James chases after the hunter and gets onto the back of the truck after discovering that Bobby is being hauled away by the hunter in her pickup. Alex searches the truck for something useful and uncovers a number of tranquilizer darts as Alex and Pip get into their own car to follow them. She also discovers a shovel, which she takes with her as the hunter enters an abandoned house with Bobby. James tries to stop the hunter, but he immediately overpowers her and steals her shovel. Fortunately, James carried a large number of darts with her. By scattering them, she manages to hit the huntress with at least one, putting her to sleep. James then takes Bobby away in the hunter's truck and informs him that she is pregnant. They leave the mascot suit by a road sign to provide Pip and Alex with a clue as to where they are, and the group eventually reunites. James informs them of what transpired, and they are startled to learn that Bobby was shot with tranquilizer darts, which indicates that the hunter intended to capture him alive. Alex and James wish to return Bobby to the phone's coordinates, but Pip disregards them and, in a devastating act of betrayal, brings them to wellness. While Alex, James, and Bobby are being detained, Lane takes Pip to her new luxurious room and announces she has joined the committee. Alex and James are placed in a cell, and when Lane comes to remove their belongings, Alex attempts to save James by stating she is pregnant. However, Lane does not care and informs them that they will undergo the same procedure as Alex's mother, who was also captured in this cell. Constance then arrives to take them to the doctor, weeping over what she and Alex might have had because she was becoming in love with her. Alex disagrees, arguing that a relationship cannot be genuine if she cannot experience both positive and negative emotions. Meanwhile, Pip wears the expensive outfits Lane sent her to attend the Grand Supper. Everyone celebrates her as a hero, but when she sees Bobby bound at the end of the table, Pip begins to feel awful. Bobby refuses to speak to her other than to criticize her, but the other women believe they are getting along and get envious since Bobby has ignored them. Lane abruptly stands up and asks Pip to kiss Bobby, but Pip is hesitant and simply pecks his cheek. The women begin to request more, forcing Bobby to become enraged and push Lane away, only for the others to grab him and force him onto the table. Constance enters the room immediately upon hearing the ruckus and is surprised to find Lane begging Pip to engage in sexual activity with Bobby in front of everyone, as well as Lane using her hand to inspire Bobby. When Pip hesitates, Lane ultimately reveals her true colors by threatening to bless her companions if she does not comply. Pip gets onto the table, and when she sees Lane wearing James' necklace, she loses her temper and labels the entire group as horrible people. Lane directs the officers to arrest Pip, and Constance brings her to the operating room to be permanently blissed as well. The physicians are preparing to treat Alex and James, but Constance informs them that Pip has precedence. This is a ruse, and Constance knocks out the doctors as soon as they turn around. Then they awaken Alex and James, and Alex agrees to knock Constance unconscious with her gun in order to conceal her treachery. Before passing out, Constance expresses her hatred towards Alex. The girls flee the building, and Pip tries to repent, but Alex and James are not yet willing to forgive her. They resolve to work together for Bobby's sake, but they must first acquire clothing and weapons. They discover an abandoned shack with an electrical prod and some clothing, enabling them to formulate a strategy. Lane is driving Bobby away in her car while the girls block the road with a cow. As soon as the car stops, Pip uses the prod to knock out Lane and retrieves James' jewelry, while Alex frees Bobby from his shackles. Bobby refuses to accompany them because he does not trust Pip. Their disagreement gives Lane time to awaken and threaten them with a firearm. The ladies place themselves between Bobby and the pistol, and Pip attacks Lane, causing her to drop the firearm. Alex retrieves the prod while both women struggle and electrocutes Lane for a longer duration, rendering her unconscious this time. Bobby flees while the females are preoccupied in order to return to the sports facility. When a camera recognizes his face, a door eventually unlocks and he is allowed to enter. The location of the girls is revealed to the hunter as they follow Bobby into the building after observing people arriving to assist Lane. Pip begs for their life, to which the huntress responds that she does not kill men, but rather defends them. The door abruptly closes, and the hunter explains that this is not a secure location, but a trap. The chamber begins to fill with gas, and because the doors and windows are closed, the hunter assists the party in escaping through the ventilation duct. Unfortunately, she is unable to continue, and before passing away, she tells Alex that she is identical to her mother. Alex understands that the hunter has the same tattoos as her mother, and that they have lost a valuable ally. The party begins to crawl through the vents as the gas chases them, but Bobby becomes entrapped and they are unable to proceed. The vents are very fragile, so the group begins to shake them to shatter them. The plan succeeds, and they descend to the ground to discover a frightening room in which men are strapped to chairs and milked for their seeds while filthy films play on television. At that time, Lane and Harvey arrive with security personnel. They explain they are accumulating seed for when the pre-virus banks run out, so they can dominate the nation. Bobby's SIM card was part of a plot by Wellness, so that survivors would come to them instead of having to search for them. The individual who recorded the messages is revealed to be Jackson, whom Bobby knows as his deceased friend. Adding insult to injury, Jackson is in a relationship with Lane. Bobby becomes enraged upon learning that Jackson has betrayed every man he has ever met. But when he attempts to fight Jackson, the officers arrest him and take him away to be milked as well.